Let's talk about the newest palette from Nomad Cosmetics, the Fairy Tale Year palette. Oh my gosh, I love this artwork and I'm so excited for this theme. I love that the colors on the cover reflect the inside color story. When I first opened this palette, I was like, yes, this is brilliant. So we're taking a peek inside. We have mostly shimmers and a bottom row of mattes, and they're all neutral mattes. And I love that so much because you have the pops of color with the shimmer, but then you can just easily pair a matte with it. You don't have to do a guessing game on what kind of matte you want to pair. I think this palette overall lends itself for a variety of different looks where you can do a matte in the crease and a shimmer on the lid, but you can also do some much more smokier types of eye looks. There are 3 multi-chrome shimmers and I will be showing you detailed swatches of all of the shimmer shadows, and I'm also going to be talking about the texture of them because there are a couple of different textures in the shimmer. So not only are some of them more opaque than others, there's definitely a little bit of a difference in terms of how they feel. I was born in the Czech Republic and we do have quite a few beautiful castles. So the shimmer shade names are based on fairy tales from Europe and not Disney movies. Disney movies are based on fairy tales. For example, the Cinderella story I grew up with has no fairy godmother, but has 3 nuts. But there is a castle and there is a lost shoe. I did receive this palette in PR from Nomad Cosmetics, and I do have an affiliate code which I will put up on the screen in case you're interested in this palette or anything else from Nomad Cosmetics. And thank you so much if you do use my code. This palette is launching March 11 around 12:01 a.m. Eastern time. It retails for $59, which I'm sure is reflective of the shimmer shades in here. That is a higher price tag for Nomad Cosmetics, so it seems like they're dipping into offering some more variety of shimmers. So let's get into the detailed swatches of the shimmers, the 3 looks, and then I'll give you some of my thoughts at the end of the video. First 3 shades are First Kiss, Fairy Godmother, Prince Charming, and Wicked Fairy. This one is like a very smooth metallic. The pink is maybe just a little bit less metallic, and First Kiss is definitely very shiny as well. And Wicked Fairy seems like it's a bit of a different texture. It kind of picked up a little bit in pieces. I'm going to add another layer to this shade and this shade. First Kiss has a subtle pink base with a silvery, almost blue reflect to it. Fairy Godmother is a vibrant magenta. I would say it's pretty opaque. And then Prince Charming is a little bit more sheer. It's got like a gold peach vibe to it straight on. And it does shift just a little bit to almost like a taupe that's maybe leaning kind of blue, like a grayish blue. And this shade does have a little bit of squish in it. It does feel a little bit more emollient. And Wicked Fairy is a dark plum with blue sparkles throughout it, and it's a little bit different in texture. It almost has a little bit of kick up in the pan, and I feel like it didn't go on evenly, which is why I added another layer. And here they are up close. See the blue sparkles through a Wicked Fairy. Next 3 shades are Love Story, Magic Spell, Snow White, and Cinderella. Love Story is a turquoise and it's almost a little bit sheer, flaky, but it does look like it has some larger particles throughout it, so it doesn't really make it uniform. It kind of looks like it just is a little bit, not necessarily piecey. So here it is built up. Magic Spell is a charcoal cool tone brown. Snow White is a iridescent multi-chrome that is pink to orange shifting. And then Cinderella is a mid-tone cool pink. A slightly white or silvery reflect straight on, depending on the light. And the last 4 shimmer shades are Belle, Sleeping Beauty, Snow Queen, and Little Mermaid. And there are some textural differences between these shades. Sleeping Beauty is very, very squishy in the pan. I'm going to add a little bit more to Snow White. as well as Sleeping Beauty, just at the end here. Belle is a true vibrant yellow gold, and Sleeping Beauty is a really interesting purpley silver with blue, pink, and green sparkles throughout it. It reminds me of one of the shades from the Chicago Speakeasy palette, which I will compare. Snow Queen is a bright jeweled blue, and A Little Mermaid is such a gorgeous shade. I feel like this shade, it's a lighter red, and I think it's leaning maybe a little bit orange, just a tad. And then the close-up, here's Sleeping Beauty, and here is the shade Aviation from the Chicago Speakeasy palette. The texture is different between the two, slightly. The shade from the Sleeping Beauty is squishy. I'm going to add another layer. You can see that it's lighter, but they are very similar. Aviation is more purple leaning, and here's a close-up. You can really see the difference between them in the close-up. But I do think that the flecks throughout them are very similar. I'm going to do a really simple look for the first eye look. So I'm going in with a Chateau de Chambord. And I'm just going to pop that into my crease. And it's just going to go all the way out and up. And that is blending really, really nicely. I'm using my collab brush with Clionadh. This is just like a blending brush. It's going to cover a large area just to kind of disperse the matte in the crease. And then I'm going to wipe off this, and I'm going in with Alcazar de Sequoia, I think is kind of maybe what it's pronounced as. And I'm just taking that above that. I'm going to take just a little bit more of the other shade. I feel like this is a perfect mousse color right here. Picked up the shimmer Sleeping Beauty, and I actually misted it with the Carla Cosmetics makeup fixing spray. It does say on their website that you can use it for shimmers, so I'm curious to see how that works. This shade is definitely a little bit squishy and moves around in the pan. I'm just gonna pop that essentially all over the lid. I love this color. It is a very interesting kind of shade. It has pink and like blue and green flecks throughout it. Very dimensional kind of shade. Finishing off this look with the same shade I used on the lid. I'm just gonna connect it with the lower lash line down here, just a tad. And here's the first finished look. For the second look, I want to do something a little bit more dramatic. I'm going to go in with this darker brown shade, and I'm going to put that on the outer corner. Just kind of first laying that down, and then using circular motions to blend it out. I'm going to pick up Grey Gear Castle. I'm going to use that on the edges of that to kind of help blend it out. And I'm going to go back in with the brown. Just gonna add it back in. I do feel my eye is watering, so I'm trying to not catch it, because if it gets on my brush, it's gonna make everything patchy. And I'm just blending it out further, and then going in with the Grey Gear Castle again. I'm just putting that on the inner crease, and then I'm blending it into the brown. Okay, not that much, just wanted a little bit in here. And I'm picking up a little bit of Chillon Castle, and I'm just gonna use that up against my lash line to just deepen up a little bit. And I'm kind of tapping it on, and I'm gonna go back in with this, then taking this blending brush, I'm just gonna really tiny bit move it around here, blend it out essentially. Just a tiny bit of smokiness. Picked up a Little Mermaid, and I'm gonna pop that on the lid. I did mist it with the Carla Cosmetics potion, and I'm just gonna put that basically on the lid, kind of on an angle. And then same brush except other side, I'm picking up Prince Charming, and I'm gonna swoop that up here, right above that. It's translating a very sheer, even though it doesn't look like it is very, it doesn't look like an iridescent. I'm gonna go back in with a little bit more Little Mermaid. I do feel like these applied a little bit sheer with a brush. I would be curious to see these applied with a finger. So I'm going to go in with a little bit more of the brown just to really help mesh that pink shade. So I'm going in with my finger and just applying that shade. I'm just curious to see, definitely a little bit more opaque and a little bit more punchy. I'm going to do the same thing with Prince Charming. I just want to see, it's going to be basically more foiled with a finger. Finishing off the lower lash line with the brown shade. I'm just kind of tapping it on first. I'm going to take a little bit of the black just to deepen it out, just out here, just a tiny bit. And here's the second finished look. On to the third look, I'm taking Shellwe Castle, and I'm going to create a thick eyeshadow wing. And I'm kind of using this to map it out first because I will be putting the black shimmer on top. But I did want to make sure that I had like full opacity with that one, so that it had this to kind of stick down to. And I'm using the brush from my collection with Clionadh. And I'm just kind of gonna wing it out, and I can always clean it up with concealer. I haven't done the concealer yet. So I just want to make sure that it's pretty even. Seems like it is quite even. Again, I'm just gonna clean it up here with concealer. So next I'm picking up Magic Spell, and I'm gonna mist it with the Carla Cosmetics Makeup Fixing Spray. I've been really liking using this with shimmers actually. They really help to stick down. And then I'm just gonna go and fill in where I put the black matte shadow, and I'm gonna go a little bit underneath my lower lash line as well. Picked up First Kiss and again misted it, and it's gonna go right into the center of my lid, and it's gonna fade into the black. I think I might have to extend the black a little bit. I actually took it a little bit further in on the other eye. So I'm gonna go back to this brush and just pick it up and put it down. This one already itself, it's got a little bit of like a thicker texture to it. And then I'm just blending in more of that pinky shade. And then for the inner corner, I'm picking up Snow White just on my finger. I usually like to just do this with my finger because I can just really swoop it up and cover a large area. And I'm just really trying to get that to be visible even when I have my eye open. So like right in here, essentially. And I'm going to use this Moira Cosmetics glitter liner. I don't know why it's called glitter, but it's the shade Super Sparkle, and I forget that I have these. So I thought this would be perfect to bring it out, and I'm going to just outline the top of this liner. Just for that little extra sparkle. And here's the finished look. So I've done 3 looks, and I'm going to be doing one more look for real, so stay tuned for that. And so far I'm really enjoying the palette. I already knew I was going to love the way this is laid out. I think it makes this palette really easy to use. I love that there is a matte black shadow in here because it just means you can deepen up any look. That being said, I do wish there was one more cooler tone brown. Like maybe if one of these 3 was just like a cooler tone matte brown kind of to this depth level. The mattes are the usual Nomad Cosmetics formula, so they do have a little bit of kick up in the pan, which makes them really pigmented, and they blend really easily. Let's talk about the shimmers because there's definitely some new things happening here. I don't have the most recent 2 palettes, I believe, from Nomad Cosmetics, so I'm not sure how the shimmers in those palettes are, but I did recently use the Chicago Speak Easy palette, and those shimmers in there were like a perfect balance of being really smooth, really metallic, but not being squishy. But it seems like there are some squishy shades in here, and those 2 being this one up here and this one right here. This one is way more squishy than this one. You can kind of see the dip I have in here from swatching it, from using it. I did wear the first 2 looks for about 2 hours, and I did use the Carla Cosmetics Makeup Fixing Spray, and I didn't have any creasing in the first 2 hours. And also I'm really surprised, so I do need to test that out some more, because if this spray helps with more emollient types of shadows, then that would be really exciting. So something to keep in mind if you're looking at this palette and you have hooded oily lids like me, you might have to try to keep these away from your crease and maybe use them more on the inner corner or just more on the kind of mobile lid. Those two are the really smooth metallics as well as Snow White, but Snow White doesn't have any squish to it, and it's a really beautiful high shine metallic iridescent, and I love that it's in here. The rest of the shimmers are not squishy. They have a little bit of kind of thickness to them, and there is one shade in here called Wicked Fairy. I'm a little iffy on this one. I felt like whenever I swatched it, it was really kind of patchy looking, and I really had to smooth it out. So I do really want to try that one out on the lid, because who knows, it might apply completely fine with a brush and maybe like a tacky primer. But that one definitely felt very different for Nomad Cosmetics, but the rest of the shades are really, really beautiful. And then Little Mermaid, I think this one has to be one of my favorite shades in here. Something about this tone, it's so punchy. I also really like First Kiss because it is a little bit more of a dimensional type of shadow, so it has like a really light pink base, but it has different speckles throughout it, and it was a pleasure to use. Overall, the shimmers I used so far picked up really great with a brush, which I love and I do prefer, especially over flakier shadows, which tend to be a little bit harder to use, at least for me personally. I'm really excited to film a reel with this palette, and so far I'm really enjoying it. And again, like, packaging, spectacular, beautiful. Also, I would love to see a part 2 of this, maybe for around Halloween time, and maybe it would be the darker castles, the gothic type of castles, like the Prague castle. I think that would be super fun. So let me know in the comments below, what do you think of the color story of the punchy shimmers and the neutral mattes? I would love to hear your thoughts. So if you like these kinds of videos, I will put up some of my other videos up on the screen. And thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you next time.